Hello everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are going to be diving into the fundamental force that we all know exists, but let's be honest, we rarely ever stop to actually appreciate it. I am talking about this invisible, silent weight that is constantly pressing against you, me, and literally everything around us every single second of our lives. We don't see it, we almost never feel it, but without it, the whole mechanics of our world would just completely break down. We are talking, of course, about the staggering atmospheric pressure of our sky.
Did you know that the air right in front of you actually has weight? I mean, we all learned early on that air has mass, right? But it is so incredibly easy to just treat it as empty space as we go about our day. Well, I want you to look around wherever you are sitting right now, and let's scale that concept way up. Imagine millions upon millions of microscopic air molecules completely surrounding the Earth. They are stacked from the very floor you are standing on all the way up to the edge of space. And all of that staggering volume of air, it is being constantly pulled down by Earth's gravity. Because it has mass, it has massive weight. And because it has weight, you guys, it pushes.
Which brings us to our core concept for today, atmospheric pressure. Basically, this is the force exerted by the weight of the air on every single surface it touches. Now, when you picture those invisible air particles, don't just imagine some static, boring cloud. No, these things are highly energetic. They are buzzing around at hundreds of miles per hour, just constantly and randomly colliding with objects. Every single time one of those invisible molecules bounces off a surface, it exerts a tiny, tiny fraction of force. But when you multiply a single microscopic bounce by trillions of molecules striking a surface every microsecond, well, that adds up to a continuous, crushing pressure that dictates exactly how our environment functions.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is exactly what this massive ocean of air pushes on. The answer? Literally everything it touches. It is pushing on a person walking down the street, it is pressing against the heavy structural beams of your house, exerting force on the leaves of a tree, and bearing down on that car parked in your driveway. To put some real numbers to it, down at sea level, this atmospheric pressure equates to about 14.7 pounds on every single square inch of surface area. That means there is roughly the weight of an entire small car pressing down on your body right this very second. Crazy, right? The only reason you do not feel it is because the pressurized fluids and air inside your body are pushing back out with that exact same force.
Okay, let's dive into this and actually visualize the raw math of this force in action. We are going to revisit a classic physical demonstration that is just incredibly elegant in its simplicity. So step 1, we take a standard glass and fill it all the way to the absolute brim with water. Step 2, a simple, perfectly flat piece of card goes directly over the top of the glass, creating a nice, tight seal against the rim. Now for step 3, we hold that card tight and we flip the entire glass completely upside down. Gravity is doing its absolute best right now to pull all that heavy water downward.
But look at this. The water stays completely inside. It is a simple trick for sure, but the mechanics behind it are absolutely profound. The water doesn't crash to the floor and the card doesn't fall away. It stays perfectly sealed against the rim of the upside-down glass, holding all of that heavy liquid completely suspended in midair. It is a perfect gravity-defying visual representation of two immense forces going head-to-head.
Now, even though we inherently know the science, I feel like the inner 10-year-old in all of us still looks at this and goes, wait a minute, why exactly didn't the water fall? I mean, gravity should pull that mass to the floor immediately, right? We know there is no glue, we know there is no camera trickery here, so what on earth is actually acting as the invisible support structure, keeping that card perfectly glued to the rim of the glass?
Let's slow this down for a second, because this elegantly illustrates the staggering power of atmospheric pressure. Yes, gravity is indeed pulling the mass of the water downward. But outside the glass, those highly energetic, invisible air molecules we talked about earlier, they are rushing in and pushing upward against the bottom of the card. The atmospheric pressure pushing up is exponentially stronger than the downward weight of a few ounces of water. It is a literal battle of forces, and the atmosphere wins effortlessly. It's like millions of tiny invisible hands holding that card firmly in place.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this pressure isn't just a static, unchanging number. It is highly dependent on where you are physically located on the planet. As you can tell, pressure is at its absolute peak when you are way down at sea level, hanging out at the very bottom of the atmospheric ocean. But if you climb up a tall mountain, you enter a zone of medium pressure. And if you are cruising at 35,000 feet in a commercial airplane, the atmospheric pressure outside that cabin drops dramatically. So the force pressing against you is constantly changing as you move vertically.
The reason for this change is beautifully logical when you think about it like a giant physical column. Simply put, as altitude increases, there are just fewer air molecules stacked above you.
When you stand at sea level, you have the entire height of the Earth's atmosphere resting directly on your shoulders. But when you climb a mountain or fly in a plane, you move up into that atmosphere. Less air above you equals fewer air molecules, which equals less weight and ultimately less atmospheric pressure. Fun fact, this is exactly why water boils at a lower temperature on top of Mount Everest. There is physically less air pressure pushing down on the surface of the water, so it's a lot easier for the liquid molecules to escape as a gas.
Once you really grasp this, you realize we've actually engineered our entire daily lives around harnessing this invisible weight. Think about a drinking straw. It doesn't actually pull liquid up into your mouth. Instead, you are simply creating a low-pressure vacuum inside the straw, and the immense atmospheric pressure pushing down on the rest of the drink forces the liquid up the tube for you. Medical syringes operate on that exact same principle. How about a suction cup? It only sticks to a window because we squeeze the air out from behind it, allowing the room's atmospheric pressure to just pin it right against the glass. We've even built incredibly precise tools like barometers, specifically to measure subtle shifts in this atmospheric weight, which lets us predict the weather. It is literally everywhere.
So the crucial point is, our journey from a single microscopic molecule bouncing off a surface, all the way to a massive airplane cruising at altitude, reveals a beautifully interconnected system. Let's recap real quick. Air is far from nothing. It has real, measurable physical mass. It exerts a continuous, crushing pressure in every conceivable direction. That pressure is highest down at sea level and gradually thins out as we reach up toward the stars. And most importantly, it isn't just some abstract scientific concept you learn in school. It is the silent, invisible engine behind countless practical tools and technologies that we use every single day.
Which brings us to a really profound shift in perspective. As our curious student might say, now I know that air is invisible, but it pushes on everything around us. Once you truly internalize the sheer scale and the mechanics of atmospheric pressure, I promise you will never look at a simple glass of water, a plastic drinking straw, or even just an empty room in quite the same way again. You realize that you aren't just walking through empty space. You are constantly wading through a dynamic, heavy, and incredibly powerful ocean of air.
It is the quiet, invisible power of our atmosphere, literally shaping the world around us every second of every day. But it certainly makes you wonder, if a force strong enough to theoretically crush a car is resting entirely unnoticed on your shoulders right now, what other unseen physical forces are acting upon you in this very moment, just waiting to be understood? Stay curious, keep exploring the hidden physics of our world, and I will catch you guys in our next explainer.